Capucine and Florent are 30 years old. They are passionate about do-it-yourself, and during the lockdown, they decide to pass the time by building a house with shipping containers. They have free time, but they are especially very organized. Their 145 square meter house is built in just 9 months for a budget of 102,000. They documented the entire construction project in a book that greatly inspired me for building my container house. So I absolutely had to meet them to visit their house and ask them for some advice that will help you with your projects. Hello, Florent.
Hello, Julian. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for welcoming us into your home.
Welcome to our container home. We're in the entrance. To the right is a 14 square meter garage not included in the house's total area. And here to our left we have a laundry room that is a little bit technical room with water heater and then water manifold, etc. and storage for the house.
And then we go directly into the main room of the house.
So this space includes the living room, dining room and kitchen, totaling around 45 square meters. We deliberately left a maximum of containers visible, so as you can see, we left the ceilings, the walls, and then we tried to keep as many details as possible by following all the undulations of the container with the floor. And also at the level of the walls and the technical boxes of the house. So here it's really the meeting between two containers and we created a force beam. Or as you were saying, everything that is electricity and then VMC passes through this box.
I see where you did the drywall on the remaining part of the walls. You not kept the container aspect everywhere? Why?
So in fact, we wanted to deliberately isolate all the walls that face the outside to maximize the thermal and acoustic comfort of the house.
Okay, so that's why you insulated on the outside more than on the inside. And now, for the interior walls, you have
left container.
For the aesthetics. Okay. And so this room afterwards, it leads you to
the bedrooms.
So here we have a sleeping area with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a toilet. And then here, just behind us, we have an office and with a toilet.
Okay, so you really wanted to separate the sleeping area you made?
That's right. We had really the will to make a living area in 2 containers. So these are 40-foot I-cubes and then make the sleeping area in 2 containers. Plus another one that we shared between the different areas. There you go.
Well, now that you've given us a little tour of your beautiful home, I want us to come back a bit on the reasons why you made a container home. Was it because it was more economical, more ecological, because you like the neo-industrial style? What is it? What are the reasons?
It's for multiple reasons simultaneously. The first I would say was from a practical point of view, that is to say masonry. It's not our thing. And we were really looking for a way to have a solid house quickly and at a lower cost. So we thought that the easiest thing for us was to buy containers and put them on foundations. And in one day we had our house, which was already at least the major work that was existing.
Did that reassure you? The structure, in fact, to say I have something solid that I don't have to touch.
The second reason was economic, since, as you know, buying shipping containers, now it's become cheap. We can say it's quite easy to get them. We decided to go for it, knowing we can control everything else. So for us, it was obviously economically attractive. Then, what also very much attracted us to a container house is its style. When you open the door of a container house, there's an immediate charm that emanates from it, which you don't find in a traditional house. There you have it. We enjoyed the fun fact that these boxes have traveled millions of kilometers. We wanted an unconventional, fun house that reflected our personalities. For me, the container was the perfect choice. Because it arrives, it is present, we know it can overcome several events, difficult weather conditions, etc. The salt, the corrosion. And I thought for us, it's ideal. We have a structure that is there, a roof, a floor, and then free to our creativity to do the rest.
Had you also considered wooden or other types of houses? Did you have doubts about?
At one point. Initially, we were going for a wooden house at Saint-Bois, and then, little by little, we were researching on the networks. We saw a container house that we really liked. Then we saw a show that aired on television that showed this kind of construction.
Did you get influenced?
Yes, completely. And we said to ourselves, let's go, this is what we want to get into. And then we took the first step and it began.
Now, we're going to see a bit more. How did you build your container house? With Capucine, you wrote a book, in fact, that retraces the whole adventure from A to Z. That's right. In the book, you discuss the numerous administrative tasks you needed to complete.
Was it easy to apply for the permit to get it?
For us, it wasn't easy, because at first we had to convince the town hall to build a container house in the town where we live. And in fact, the idea was innovative, and anything that's innovative often raises questions. So at first they were rather reluctant to the construction of this house. And it took several meetings. We had to negotiate with them, explain to them that it was going to go well and that the exterior of the house was going to look like the others in the village. So it was rather complicated, but everything worked out in the end. And the town hall is happy that we carried out this project. They are considering making local facilities out of containers in the future. Oh yeah, yes, around one. I recently learned about the municipal stadium.
Ah, excellent. You intentionally decided to have a house under 150 square feet without consulting an architect. Square meters to save costs. By the way,
we hired a project manager who created the entire house plans and layout for us. And it was him who subsequently filed the building permit.
Okay, and for the foundations, you made a crawl space, right? But not a cinder block crawl space. You made concrete plots. And the crawl space, you closed it with the walls of the containers. Is that right?
Exactly. So in fact, we made about 30 piles in concrete of 40 centimeters in diameter, approximately, so which are positioned at somewhat strategic points, so that we can have a corner on a pile, and then when we have two containers stuck next to each other, a pile can serve as a foundation for both. And then, as you rightly said, once we've cut all the containers, especially these two where we've opened up the entire length, we cut pieces of sheet metal that we came to press against these piles in order to then close the crawl space.
And then you had the containers delivered.
That's right.
And you started, what is it? The cutting, the assembly?
Assembly at first. So the containers arrived in July 2020 from memory. With the containers' arrival, we had a plan in place and began working that very day. So we welded the containers together, and then we even started creating the openings. We started to cut the very same day.
Afterwards, you installed your joinery in tunnels, similar to what I did, using oriented strand board tunnels.
In fact, we created oriented strand board boxes of the dimension of our windows that we came to integrate into the containers. And then we came to hold them on either side of the container to be able to fix the window easily.
And then, all around, you came to recreate a wooden structure to accommodate the insulation, to also accommodate the roof, the frame. That's it.
We really created a whole structure with 16 centimeter deep bastions all around the house. And then these bastions, we fixed them with brackets, so partly welded to the container. And some were screwed in for safety with PDM screws and washers for ensuring the seal. Still some.
Your rafters, wooden structure and bastions were all essential, since after you have isolated between these bastions. So it's not exactly in order, but yeah, so the isolation, how did you isolate? Let's say already between these bastions for the walls.
So between these bastions, we chose to put polyurethane panels of 160 thickness, and we really created a polyurethane envelope all around the house.
Okay, but after the floor, you came to insulate from the inside, right? A bit like what I did.
Exactly. We came to put 10 centimeters of polyurethane panels directly on the wooden floor of the container.
Did not do any screeding, nothing.
Did not do screeding. And then we came to put back oriented strand board panels, so wood panels, wood particle panels on this insulation. And it's on these panels that we managed to rework the levels a little bit. There you go. We adjust them or sand them a little.
And then for the roof there, it's on the roof that you came.
So
always the
roof. We came to put 2 layers of polyurethane always. In polyurethane, of 10 centimeters each, but crossed. So there you go. We have 20 centimeters in roofing.
Okay, and then on top of all that, you put on the walls of the knife wood cladding.
Exact.
And on the roof, directly the bitumen on the polyurethane.
No, so we recreated a frame in wood on top, the polyurethane to create the slope. We recreated parapets all around, and then on this frame we put back oriented strand board panels. And on top of that we came to put 2 layers of membrane bituminous, so intar.
And if you had to do it over again, would you do things differently already? Would you build a container house again?
If I had to do it over, I would do it again, since the choice of the container is still for me a plus. It gives me pleasure, it still pleases me. After, well, we like change too. I think we might do something else now that we have tasted this. But in any case, I recommend it. And I recommend it for those who want to get started. And in my opinion, it is necessary.
What aspects of your construction would you keep the same or change, and why? The process was remarkably quick.
It took 9 months from the start to the end of the container delivery, I believe, until you lived in there. 9 months.
I would have liked to do that. It was very fast. How did you manage to be so quick?
So, we have already been. We were very valiant. That is to say, we were there in the evenings, the weekends. We did not have a Sunday. For almost 9 months, we allowed ourselves very few meals out, evenings between friends, everything. That. We were really focused on the construction. And the second big advantage is that we fell right in the middle of the lockdown period.
I've heard about that. And so, it must have saved a bit of time indeed.
That's right, teleworking, company closures, etc. meant that we could really dedicate ourselves fully to the project. Fortunately, a material distributor near our home continued operating. We never ran out of anything, as we always got our deliveries, enabling us to work and distribute efficiently. It was able to progress in that manner because of that.
Let's conclude by discussing the most critical aspect of the project, its cost, as outlined in the book. What's good is that you really detailed how much each item cost.
I suggest we take a look step by step.
First off, the administrative steps and taxes, the building permit, all that, how much has it already cost you?
Yeah, so what you need to know is that we went through a project manager, as we discussed. The hour, and well, roughly it cost us about 4,000 euros. His job was to come and take measurements on the site, implement the house both on site and in software, and then apply for the building permit. And there are also often some modifications that we bring later, and he is there to work all that out. Then, from an administrative point of view, we have therefore made the development of the land, So there, it was all the requests to the suppliers to have internet, electricity, water, internet, also telephony. Fortunately, all utilities were at the land's edge, keeping costs low.
That's why it's not
very expensive, but it's still something to consider before starting the project, because you can quickly find yourself in complicated situations.
I noticed you had 6,000 euros in development taxes, which varies by municipality. In this case, it was a bit high.
We knew we'd have to pay a large sum of 6,000 for a cold shower. It's still huge. We are fortunate to have the option to pay in 2 installments.
You have 14,000 euros of
preparation, what? That's it, without having put
the first
stone in the building.
And then after step 2, so there it's the whole house. And it starts with the foundations.
So there the foundations and the excavation of the house, it cost us about 17,000 euros. We still had to dig up all the land.
And it was professionals who also did all the foundations in one.
It was professionals who prepared everything, this development. Yes, they came to excavate and check the levels.
But even the concrete piles. Exactly, yes. So yes, it's 17,000 euros. It seems a lot, but it's because they are pros. You have a 10-year warranty on it.
That's right. There's an insurance behind it that needs to be taken into account. Yes.
And then, so you have the shipping containers. Yes, what do you have? You have 5 I-cube. We have
5 40-foot I-cube and then 1 20-foot dry. They call that, which is normal size in quotes.
Okay, and there, how much did it cost you?
The containers will cost 19,000 euros, including delivery and crane handling.
What was it then? The different positions? Could you go a bit lower?
Continuing on, we had the joinery. Knowing that we installed them ourselves, we had the joinery produced. They are all custom made, so it cost us about 10,000 euros for the supplies. Then everything that is roofing, it's essentially the waterproofing. It cost us about 11,000 euros. We had a specialized company intervene on
Wanted a 10-year guarantee.
to cover the cost. Then the insulation, it's a very big item in the container house, but I think we shouldn't.
It's profitable in the long term, but anyway, it's mandatory in the RT 2012 and now the RE 2020. You must put a certain amount of insulation. You can't skip over that.
On that. In my opinion, if there's something to go all out on, it's that. We got it for 15,000 euros. Okay, approximately. The amounts are a bit rounded off for there. As for the structural wood, exterior wood, framing, we use a bit of wood inside as well. We are looking at a total of about 7,000 euros. Okay, when even. And then we can finish with the exterior cladding, so we made the choice to take a mix of wood cladding and metal cladding, and for a total of 7,000 euros.
Then there was also the plumbing, sanitary, and electricity at the same time. So
Sanitary, about 3,000. So it's all about piping, connection of piping, drainage, etc. went around that, and we did it ourselves. So basically, it's just the cost of the supply and this equipment there too. We did it ourselves. So it's just the supply of materials, the technical duct, the panel, the switches, etc. And there it costs about 5,000 euros for all of that. So we can also add the heat pump and the radiators. So it's the heating systems of the house, heating and cooling. So here we have a quote for 8,136 euros. The pricing was precise, including the radiators, heat pump, and thermodynamic hot water tank. So that's about everything we can add to the house in the big egg of the house, and then the construction itself.
in total, we have a 130 square meter house that cost you 102,000 plus the 13 square meter studio rented on Airbnb. We made an interesting video about it. Go watch it. And in addition, the 14 square meter garage that you don't count in the living area, but which is still an extra room. Which makes us, we said 102,000 euros for 145 square meters. That makes you 700 euros per square meter. It's really interesting. Even in self-construction, it's more interesting than what we could have had in concrete or maybe even in wood.
That's for sure. That was one of the first motivations for choosing the container. It's the economical choice. And well, we can still qualify that by saying that we don't count the time spent on site, the labor, but it's 700 euros per square meter. Currently, we can't find it.
Thank you for showing us all the details of your house. The link to the book is in the video description, of course, so that people can find all the construction from A to Z, the budget, everything we talked about in this more detailed report. Thank you really for taking the time to explain all the details to us.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Continue the debate and discussion in the comments. Ask your questions and we will answer them. Subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming reports, especially the report on the studio that Florent rents on Airbnb, which is something very interesting. Also, we discussed it, so there you go. See you very soon on this channel. Thanks again for the invitation.
Thank you, see you soon.